The first time Sophie Torres called me Dad, she was 7, missing a front tooth and furious because I tightened the brakes on her bicycle before letting her ride down our block. "Dad says I can go fast," she announced. Her mother, Maya, nearly dropped the grocery bag in her arms. I told Sophie I was not her dad. She grinned and said, "That sounds exactly like something a dad would say." For almost a year, the name stayed a neighborhood joke. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, a hospital social worker slid a temporary guardianship form across a plastic table and asked, "Mr. Sullivan, are you willing to take responsibility for Sophie until her mother can?" Sophie was asleep against my side, her hand twisted into my jacket. Maya was 3 floors above us in surgery after a highway collision outside Fresno. I stared at the line marked "Relationship to Child" and understood, with a terror I had felt only once before, that a joke can become a promise before you realize you made it. Before I tell you how that happened, like the video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, when someone keeps showing up for a child, when does love become family? I was 30 years old when that form landed in front of me, which was old enough to know that paperwork could change a life and young enough to resent it for trying. At the time, I lived in a narrow craftsman duplex in East Sacramento, the kind with shallow porches, old citrus trees, and plumbing that announced every shower like a distant submarine. I rented the left side. Maya Torres and her daughter lived on the right. I was a firefighter with Sacramento City, Station 14, assigned to a crew that knew 2 things about me. I could sleep through almost anything at the station, and I did not date. The second fact had become office folklore. My wife Lena had been dead for 4 years. There was no dramatic secret about that, no betrayal, no final argument I could turn into a lesson. A delivery truck crossed the center line on Highway 50 while she was driving home from her sister's place in Placerville. I was on a 24-hour shift. She called me 20 minutes before the crash because the kitchen faucet had started leaking again. I saw her name on my phone. I was helping restock an engine after a medical call, and I told myself I would call back when we finished. I never did. That detail had no real connection to her death. I knew that. Every counselor I saw afterward told me that. My captain told me that. Lena's sister told me that. But grief does not care whether guilt is logical. It only needs a place to live. Mine lived in the unanswered call. So I built my life around being useful instead of being vulnerable. I fixed things. I worked overtime. I kept my house clean enough that no one would mistake loneliness for disorder. Then Maya moved in next door with an 8-year-old who believed boundaries were challenges designed for creative negotiation. Maya was 26, a project coordinator for a medical equipment company downtown, and she had a way of appearing composed even when she was carrying 6 grocery bags, arguing with an insurance company, and reminding Sophie not to feed string cheese to the neighbor's cat. The first month after they moved in, I replaced the loose board on their back steps because Sophie nearly put her foot through it. The second month, Maya left a thermos of coffee on my porch with a sticky note that read, "You fixed a thing. This is how I pay contractors who refuse money." More dangerous was that she noticed things. She noticed I came home quiet every October 17, the date Lena died, though I had never told her what it meant. The first year she lived next door, she did not ask questions. She simply left chicken soup on my porch and texted, "No need to return the container tonight." I noticed things too. I noticed Maya skipped dinner when she was facing a deadline, so I started making too much chili on purpose. I noticed the left headlight on her Corolla flickered, so I replaced the connector before she had to drive Sophie to school in the dark. I noticed she hated asking for help, so I learned to phrase offers like selfish requests. The dad thing had started after I taught her to ride her bike without training wheels. She crashed into a hedge, climbed out with leaves in her hair, and accused me of failing at fatherhood. I am not your father, I said. Good, she replied, because I'm giving you 1 star. The Tuesday everything changed started with a text from Maya at 6:12 in the morning. Can you walk Soph to school? I have to leave early for Fresno. Client site issue. Back tonight. I texted, already making eggs. She can complain about mine instead of yours. Maya replied with a thumbs up, then another message. You're a lifesaver. I almost typed occupational hazard. Instead I wrote, drive safe. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Always. That word stayed with me later. At 2:47 p.m. I was at the station checking hose fittings when my phone rang from an unknown number. The woman on the other end asked whether I was Jack Sullivan and whether I knew Maya Torres. Everything inside me went cold before she said another word. I had lived through one phone call that divided my life into before and after. Your body remembers the shape of that kind of news. Maya had been a passenger in a company SUV returning from a client facility. A pickup crossed lanes during heavy traffic near Madera. The driver of Maya's vehicle swerved. They hit the median, rolled once, and struck a barrier. Maya was alive. The woman said that first because someone at the hospital had apparently learned mercy. Alive, but unconscious. Internal bleeding, multiple fractures, surgery. Then came the sentence I did not understand. Country's listed as the emergency caregiver for her daughter. I sat down on the bumper of engine 14. What? Mr. Sullivan, are you currently with Sophie Torres? No. She was at after-school care. My captain, Briggs, took one look at my face and did not ask whether I needed to go. He took my radio from my hand and said, call me when you know what you need. I drove to Sophie's school with the kind of focus that feels almost calm because panic is too large to fit inside your skull. The front office woman knew me. That made it worse. Jack, she said, standing immediately, is Maya okay? I don't know yet. Sophie came through the side door carrying a purple backpack and a half-finished poster about California missions. She saw me instead of her mother. Her smile vanished. Kids do not need all the facts to know when the world has shifted. Where's Mom? I crouched so we were eye level. She was in a car accident. Sophie's fingers tightened around the poster board. Is she dead? The directness hit me so hard I almost looked away. No, she's alive. She's at the hospital and doctors are helping her. Why didn't she call? She can't right now. Her lower lip trembled. Are you sure she's alive? Yes. I made myself hold her gaze. Yes, Soph, I'm sure. She put the poster down on the floor. Then she stepped forward, wrapped both arms around my neck, and whispered, Okay, Dad. There was no joke in it. I did not correct her. We drove south that afternoon with a social worker from the hospital helping coordinate details by phone. The surgeons did not want Sophie at the Fresno hospital until Maya was stable, so I checked us into a motel nearby. I bought Sophie a toothbrush, pajamas, 2 shirts, underwear, socks, and the wrong kind of cereal. Then she asked, What if Mom doesn't wake up? I sat on the edge of the motel bed. This was the part no fire academy teaches you. How to tell a child the truth without handing her the full weight of it. I don't know what happens next, I said, but I know what happens tonight. She waited. You brush your teeth. You complain about the raisins. You sleep. I stay right here. Tomorrow, we get more information. Promise? My throat tightened. Promise. She studied my face like she was checking structural integrity. Then she nodded. That night, she slept with the motel lamp on. I did not sleep at all. At 6 the next morning, the hospital called. Maya was out of surgery. Her spleen had been removed. She had a fractured pelvis, 3 broken ribs, a broken left wrist, and a head injury that required close monitoring. But the bleeding had stopped. The surgeon said the next 48 hours mattered. I heard alive and built everything else around it. A hospital social worker named Denise met me in a family waiting room with coffee, a legal pad, and the expression of someone who had delivered difficult explanations many times. Maya had no spouse. Sophie's biological father had surrendered parental rights years earlier after a long period of absence. Maya's mother lived in Arizona and had advanced rheumatoid arthritis that made full-time caregiving difficult. Her brother Raphael worked on commercial fishing boats out of Alaska and was unreachable for stretches at a time. Then Denise opened a scanned document. 6 months earlier, Maya had met with an attorney and completed emergency planning documents. She had nominated me as the person she wanted to care for Sophie if she became temporarily incapacitated, and as her preferred guardian if something worse happened. I looked at my name on the page. Jack Patrick Sullivan. Address, phone number, relationship, trusted family friend. Signed by Maya Torres, dated 6 months earlier. My first emotion was not tenderness, it was anger. She never asked me. Denise folded her hands. She should have. She put my name on a legal document involving her child, and she never asked me. You can say no. Sophie was in the next room coloring at a small table. I could see the top of her head through the open door. I hated Maya for 30 seconds. Not really, but grief and fear are primitive things. They want someone to blame. She knew I lost my wife, I said quietly. She knew I don't... I stopped. Denise did not rescue me from the sentence. You don't what? I looked at Sophie. I don't make promises like this. Denise's voice softened. Mr. Sullivan, from the notes attached to the document, Ms. Torres believed you already had. I read the note. Jack is the person Sophie trusts most after me. He is consistent, safe, patient under stress, and already part of her daily life. I understand he must be asked before any permanent arrangement. In an emergency, I believe he would protect her until family can be contacted. I sat back. It was not a love letter. It hit harder than one. I signed the temporary caregiver paperwork that morning, not because Maya had chosen me, because Sophie had. For the first 3 days, life became a checklist. On the 4th day, Maya opened her eyes. I was not in the room. Sophie was too young to sit in the ICU for long, so we had gone downstairs for hot chocolate. When we came back, a nurse met us in the hallway, smiling. She's awake. Sophie dropped the cup. Hot chocolate went everywhere. Neither of us cared. The first time I saw Maya conscious, her face was bruised, her left arm immobilized, and there were tubes and monitors around her bed. She looked smaller than I had ever seen her. Sophie stopped in the doorway. Maya's eyes filled instantly. "Hey, Bug," she whispered. Sophie ran to the bed, then stopped herself because of the tubes. "Can I hug you?" "Carefully." Sophie folded herself against Maya's right side. I stayed near the door. Maya looked over Sophie's head at me. For a second, neither of us smiled. She knew. Maybe not everything, but enough. "You came," she said. I waited until she was in the family lounge watching a movie with Denise. Then I stood beside Maya's hospital bed while late afternoon light pressed through the blinds. "You should have asked me." Maya did not pretend not to know what I meant. "Yes." "That's all?" "No." Her voice was still weak, but yes is the part I owe you first. I crossed my arms. "You named me guardian. Preferred guardian, not helping." "I know. 6 months ago." "Yes." "Why?" She looked toward the window. I waited. Finally she said, "Because Sophie already runs to your house when she's scared." "That's not enough." "No, it isn't." "Then tell me the rest." Her jaw tightened. "You fix her bike before she asks. You know which teacher she hates and which one she pretends to hate but actually likes. You showed up for a third-grade music performance after a 24-hour shift. You keep strawberry popsicles in your freezer even though you don't eat them. When she wakes from a nightmare, she checks whether your porch light is on. I looked away. Maya continued. And when I am exhausted enough to get careless, you never make me feel incompetent. You just quietly take one thing off the pile. My anger shifted, but it did not disappear. You still should have asked. I know. Why didn't you? That question cost her. I could see it. Because I knew you might say no. At least that would have been my choice. Yes, she swallowed. And because if I asked you, I would have had to admit what you already are to us. My chest tightened. What am I? Maya looked at me. There was no softness in her expression, only exhaustion and something steadier. Important. I laughed once without humor. That's a convenient word. It's the one I can afford right now. There it was. A boundary, not rejection, not invitation, truth with the door still half closed. I respected her enough not to force it wider. I'm still mad, I said. You should be. I'm not leaving. Her mouth trembled. I know. That answer nearly undid me. We returned to Sacramento 12 days after the accident. Maya went first to an inpatient rehabilitation center. Sophie came home with me. The temporary guardianship order made everything official enough for school pickups, medical decisions, and the 1,000 ordinary permissions adults never think about until they need them. I learned breakfasts, lunches, spelling lists, bedtime fears, and exactly how much nonsense Sophie required before homework. I learned to braid hair from a video made by a teenage girl who spoke so quickly I had to watch it at half speed. My first braid looked like a damaged rope. Sophie touched it in the mirror. Do I have to go to school like this? Yes. Can I tell people I did it myself? No. Own your family. The word slipped out. We both went quiet. Sophie turned around on the bathroom stool. Are we? My stomach dropped. She gave me the mercy of not pushing. Maya was harder. She hated rehab. Not the therapists, not the facility, the dependence. Maya had built her adult life around never needing someone who could disappear. Sophie's father had done that early and thoroughly. He left during Maya's pregnancy, returned twice with apologies and promises, then vanished again. By the time Sophie was 3, he had signed away his rights as part of a legal agreement and moved out of state. Maya told me once, before the accident, that the worst part was not being abandoned. It was believing him the second time, she had said. Now she needed help to stand, help to shower, help to sign forms with her non-dominant hand, help with the daughter she had raised alone. I could see what it did to her. So I did not make my help sentimental. I made it practical. I drove Sophie to rehab every other afternoon, but I never stayed unless Maya asked. I brought clean laundry and left it in the chair without folding her underwear like a lunatic. I labeled containers in her fridge before she came home. I installed a temporary handrail by the shower. I moved a small table so she could reach medication without twisting. I made a spreadsheet of insurance calls because Maya liked lists and hated feeling uninformed. I put a cheap bell on her nightstand as a joke. She threw it at me. Her aim was improving. That was how we survived the next month. Not with declarations, with tasks. But intimacy grows in tasks when nobody is looking. One night, Sophie fell asleep on the rehabilitation lounge couch with her head in my lap. Maya sat in a wheelchair across from us, watching. What? I asked. Nothing. You have a face. I always have a face. That one has commentary. She looked at Sophie. She doesn't joke anymore. I knew what she meant, the dad thing. No. Does it bother you? I should have said yes. It scares me, I said. Maya's expression changed. She did not apologize for Sophie. I loved her for that before I admitted I loved her at all. What part? She asked. How normal it feels. Maya looked down at her hands. That scares me too. It was the closest we had come to saying anything honest. Then Sophie snored loudly enough to ruin the moment. I whispered, She gets that from you. Maya whispered back, Prove it, and I'll sue. 2 weeks later, Maya came home. On her 4th day back, I found her on the back steps trying to carry a laundry basket with one hand and a cane in the other. I took the basket. She glared at me. Boundary. Gravity. I had it. You had a lawsuit against the stairs. Jack. I put the basket down. Okay. She blinked. I stepped back. Her anger had nowhere to go now. After a second, she looked at the basket, then at the steps. Can you carry it inside? Yes. I hate asking. I know. I hate that you know. I know that too. She almost smiled. Don't get smug. I would never. That became our new language. Not rescue. Consent. I stopped taking over. She started asking. Slowly. It changed something between us. Late in April, Maya's company offered her a Phoenix office role with better pay, no travel, and her mother less than an hour away. Maya had not told me. Sophie did, after school, by asking whether Arizona had decent tacos. By the time I crossed the yard that evening, I was angry less about Phoenix than about Maya making Sophie carry the possibility before she had spoken to me. She saw my face and sighed. Sophie told you. Yes. I was going to. When? After I figured out whether it was real. It's real enough to tell her. Her shoulders stiffened. That is not your call. The words landed exactly where she intended. Not your call. Not her father, not her partner, not family except when paperwork needed it. I nodded once. You're right. Maya's expression shifted because I think she expected me to argue. I sat in the chair across from her. Why Phoenix? Money? Health insurance? No travel? My mom is close enough to help in smaller ways. Sophie could have more family nearby. All reasonable. Yes. So why do you look like you're trying to convince a jury? Her mouth tightened. Because you make staying here difficult. I stared at her. That is a spectacular sentence. You know what I mean. No, I really don't. She gripped the handle of her cane. If I stay, Sophie keeps depending on you. She can depend on me. And I keep depending on you. You can depend on me too. That is easy for you to say. Why? Because you are always the one standing. I went quiet. There it was. Not ingratitude. Fear. She continued, softer now. You help people for a living, Jack. You helped Lena's sister after Lena died. You help your crew. You help the old guy across the alley with his fence. You help us. I don't know where helping ends for you. And what? And where wanting begins. The world narrowed. I could have escaped, joked, deflected, asked about Phoenix again. Instead I said, I know where it begins. Maya froze. My pulse hammered in my throat. I had imagined saying something like this in better circumstances. I had imagined confidence, maybe rain because apparently grief had not cured me of being an idiot. What I had was a plastic patio chair, a woman in orthopedic socks, and a child inside doing math homework. I wanted you before the accident, I said. Maya looked away. I kept going because stopping would turn honesty into another unfinished call. I wanted you when you left soup on my porch and pretended it was nothing. I wanted you when you paid for a repaired step with coffee. I wanted you when you were perfectly capable of dealing with that headlight yourself, but let me help because you knew I needed to be useful. Her eyes came back to mine. I don't know when it became love, I said. I just know the accident didn't create it. It scared me enough to stop lying about it. Maya's eyes filled, but she did not smile. Jack. I hated the gentleness in my name. No, I held up a hand. You don't owe me an answer because I took care of Sophie. You don't owe me one because I drove to Fresno. You don't owe me one because I love her. Maya inhaled sharply. There. I had said that too. I love Sophie, I said, and I love you. Those are separate truths. They are connected, but they're not a transaction. She looked down. When she spoke, her voice was steady. I can't answer you right now. Pain moved through me, clean and immediate. Okay. I mean it. I can't. I heard you. I wake up every morning grateful you stayed. I don't know how much of what I feel is relief, or fear, or dependence. I don't know who I am yet in this body, in this job situation, in this house. And Sophie already wants something from us that I am not ready to promise. I looked through the window. Sophie was at the table chewing the end of a pencil. What does she want? Maya gave me a tired look. You know. Yes, I did. I stood. So don't answer. Her brows drew together. That's it? No. I'm still going to be around, unless you ask me not to. I'm still going to show up for Sophie, but I won't make your recovery into a countdown. Maya's mouth trembled. That sounds noble. It's not. It's going to be extremely inconvenient. A laugh escaped her, wet with tears. Then she covered her face with her good hand. I wanted to touch her. I did not. That mattered. For the next 6 weeks, nothing romantic happened. That was probably the most important part of our story. I did not punish Maya for not answering. I did not become colder so she would miss me. I did not stop helping Sophie to prove a point. I also stopped acting like I had no needs. When Maya asked if I could take Sophie overnight because she had an early physical therapy evaluation, I said yes. When she asked if I could also fix a closet door, I said, not tonight. I'm exhausted. She blinked, then nodded. Tomorrow? Saturday. Deal. That tiny exchange changed more than any dramatic speech could have. Maya began doing the same. She stopped pretending she was fine on bad pain days. She started texting, "Can you pick up milk?" instead of, "Are you going to the store anyway?" She asked me to sit with her during a call with Human Resources. Not to speak for her, just to be there. She told me when she was scared about driving again. I listened instead of fixing it. That night, Sophie came into my backyard while I was cleaning the grill. She sat on the step. Mom says we might stay. I kept scrubbing. Your mom has options. She says Phoenix is still an option. Then it is. Sophie picked at a loose thread on her shorts. Can I ask you something? Always. When I call you Dad, does it make you sad because of Lena? My hand stopped. I had never told Sophie much about Lena, but kids collect information the way sidewalks collect chalk. Sometimes, I said. She looked worried. Should I stop? I sat beside her. Why did you start? She shrugged. At first, because it made you make that face. What face? The scared turtle face. I do not have a scared turtle face. You do. I accepted this injustice. And later? I asked. She did not answer immediately. Later, it wasn't a joke. The backyard seemed to get very quiet. How long? She kicked one sneaker against the step, before Mom got hurt. I swallowed. Why didn't you tell me? Because you always said you weren't my dad. There are moments when a child hands you the truth without decoration, and you realize every adult explanation has been cowardice with better vocabulary. I looked at the grill brush in my hand. Soph, I'm not your biological father. I know. And your mom decides a lot about what our family looks like. I know. And I don't want to promise something to you that the grown-ups haven't figured out. Her face fell a little. I kept going. But when you call me Dad, I don't hear a joke anymore. She looked up. What do you hear? My voice broke before I could stop it. I hear you asking whether I'm staying. Her eyes filled. I put the grill brush down. I'm staying in your life, I said. Whatever your mom decides about Phoenix, whatever happens with me and her, I can't promise the exact shape yet, but I can promise I don't disappear because things get complicated. Sophie launched herself into me so hard I nearly fell sideways. She cried into my shirt. I held her and looked over her head toward the fence. Maya was standing on the other side. She had heard enough. Neither of us spoke. She just pressed her lips together, nodded once, and went back inside. 3 days later, she told me she had declined Phoenix. I was replacing a sprinkler head in my front yard. She stood on the sidewalk with her cane. I said no to the transfer. I looked up. Why? Because I don't want to move. I waited. She sighed. You're not going to make this easy, are you? I'm trying not to hear what I want to hear. That's annoyingly healthy. Therapy. She nodded. Then she sat carefully on the porch step. I thought Phoenix would make me independent, she said. New job, my mom nearby, clean reset. Reasonable. But when I pictured it, I wasn't excited. I was relieved. Relief is not nothing. No, but I realized I was choosing distance because closeness scared me. I set the wrench down. Maya looked at me. I'm still not giving you the answer you want. My chest tightened, but I nodded. Okay. I'm giving you a different one. She took a breath. I want to try dating you. I stared at her. Dating? Yes. Like restaurants? Sometimes. Do I have to wear pants without cargo pockets? That is one of my conditions. I smiled despite myself. Then she grew serious. Slowly, Jack. Slowly. And Sophie does not get a vote on pace. Agreed. She does get honesty. Yes. And if this doesn't work, you meant what you told her. You do not vanish. That one hurt because she knew where to press. I meant it. Maya studied me. I need more than meaning it. I understood. Her history had taught her promises were cheapest right before someone broke them. So I did not ask her to trust the sentence. I said, then watch what I do. The near loss came 2 months later, and it had nothing to do with Phoenix. It came from me. A warehouse fire in North Sacramento trapped 2 workers on an upper mezzanine. My crew went in under heavy smoke. We got both workers out, but part of the ceiling collapsed during our retreat. I was not seriously injured. A bruised shoulder, a cut along my temple, smoke exposure that bought me several hours of observation at the hospital. In my world, it counted as a good outcome. In Maya's world, it did not. She arrived at the emergency department with Sophie and a face I had only seen once before, the day she woke after her accident and saw me by the door. Fear stripped bare. Sophie ran to me, stopped when she saw the bandage, then climbed onto the edge of the bed. You're okay? I'm okay. Really? Really. She hugged me. Maya stayed near the wall. I knew something was wrong beyond the obvious. After Briggs took Sophie to get crackers from the vending machine, Maya closed the curtain around the bed. I can't do this. My stomach dropped. What? This. She gestured toward me. The hospital, the monitors. Waiting for another phone call, teaching Sophie to love someone who runs into buildings. I sat up slowly. Maya, no, don't calm me down. I wasn't going to. You were. Probably. Her eyes filled. I spent 4 years teaching myself that if I depended on nobody, nobody could wreck us. Then you showed up and made that impossible. I almost smiled. She pointed at me. Do not look pleased. I'm not. You are a little. Terrible timing. The worst. Then her face crumpled. I thought you were dead. The humor left me. I got out of bed despite the protest in my shoulder. I did not touch her. Maya, my job has risk. I know. I can't promise you I'll never get hurt. I know. I also can't quit because fear is making decisions for us. She looked at the floor. I know. I waited. She took a shaky breath. This is the part where I hate you for being reasonable. I can try something less reasonable. No. Silence stretched. Then she said, I need a few days. That hurt more than I expected. For what? To figure out whether I can live with loving someone whose work scares me. There it was. Not, can I love you? Can I live with it? The difference mattered. I nodded. Take the days. She looked up. I'm not punishing you. I know. I'm not asking you to change careers. I know. I'm scared. I know. She gave a broken laugh. You say that a lot. I know. This time, she did smile. Then she left before Briggs returned with Sophie. On the fifth evening, there was a knock on my door. Maya stood there, holding the old thermos she had used the first month we were neighbors. Coffee? She asked. It's 7 at night. Decaf. Coward. She stepped inside. Sophie was at a friend's house again. I suspected planning. Maya sat at my kitchen table while I poured the coffee. For a minute, neither of us spoke. Then she said, I talked to a therapist. I looked at her. About the accident? About a lot of things. I sat across from her. She wrapped both hands around the mug. I kept thinking I had two choices. Love someone and live terrified, or stay unattached and be safe. And apparently that is not how math works. Therapy has changed. Very modern. Her smile faded. I can't guarantee this won't scare me again. I can't guarantee I won't get hurt. I know. And I won't ask you to pretend the risk is fine. I know. She took a breath. Then I'm choosing this anyway. My heartbeat became embarrassingly loud. This? You. Us. The annoying shared grocery list. The kid who thinks she is our supervisor. Your terrible pancakes, my fear, your job, all of it. I did not move. Maya's eyes narrowed. This would be an excellent time to say something. I'm trying not to scare the moment. You are 30 years old. I'm vulnerable. You're impossible. I love you. She went still. I had said it once before when she could not answer. This time, I did not need an immediate echo. I just let the words exist. Maya stood, came around the table, and stopped in front of me. Ask, she said softly. I knew what she meant. Can I kiss you? Yes. The kiss was not cinematic. My shoulder was still sore. Maya bumped the table with her hip, the thermos nearly tipped over, and we both laughed against each other's mouths. It was better because it was ours. We told Sophie the next morning. We had agreed on rules. No promises about marriage. No pretending dating automatically changed legal roles. No letting an 8-year-old plan a wedding, which turned out to be an important clause. Sophie listened with alarming seriousness. So, your boyfriend and girlfriend? Maya nodded. Yes. And Jack is still my emergency person? Yes. And I can still call him Dad? Maya looked at me. This time she gave me the choice. I looked at Sophie. Yes. Her whole face changed. Not excitement exactly. Relief. Then she said, Cool, and went back to her cereal as if she had not just repaired something inside me. Maya reached under the table and took my hand. That was not the end. Real endings are usually just the point where a new routine begins. Over the next year, Maya got stronger, returned to full-time work in Sacramento, and eventually drove the freeway alone again. I kept going to therapy and finally stopped treating Lena's unanswered call like evidence in a case against myself. Maya never asked me to stop loving Lena. She asked me to stop using grief as proof that loving again was betrayal. We did the legal things slowly. We updated Maya's guardianship documents with my consent. Months later, after Maya and I married in a small park ceremony, I petitioned to adopt Sophie. At the hearing, the judge asked if she understood what adoption meant. Sophie nodded and said, "It means he's my dad for real." Then she looked at me and added, "He was just slow." The judge laughed and signed the order. That should have been the moment the title of our story became true. Legally, maybe it was. But emotionally, the real moment came later that night. We were home. Maya was barefoot in the kitchen, putting leftovers away. Sophie was at the table doing homework she had delayed through an entire legal proceeding. I was tightening a loose screw on one of the dining chairs. Ordinary life. No music, no courtroom, no emergency. Sophie looked up from her worksheet. "Dad?" I looked at her. For years that word had carried a question inside it. Are you staying? Do I get to meet you? Will you disappear if this gets hard? That night, for the first time, I heard no question at all. Just my name in a different form. "Yeah?" I said. "Can you help me with fractions?" I stared at the page. "No." She frowned. "You're my dad." "Legally, yes. Mathematically, I have limitations." Maya laughed from the counter. Sophie groaned. I pulled out the chair beside her anyway. "Move over." She did. Maya set a mug of coffee by my elbow even though it was late, then quietly swapped it for decaf before I could complain. I looked at her. She looked back. There were still hard days. There would always be risk in my job, fear in Maya's history, grief in mine, and some future problem none of us could predict. Healing had not made us invulnerable. It had made us more honest about what vulnerability cost. I used to think family was something you either had or lost. Now I know it can also be something you build in small, repetitive acts. A repaired bicycle, a porch light left on, a badly packed lunch, a ride to physical therapy, a boundary respected, a question answered truthfully, a promise proven on ordinary Tuesdays. Sophie called me Dad as a joke before I was ready to hear what she meant. Then one day it became real. Not because a judge signed a paper, not because Maya and I got married, not even because I loved them. It became real because when life gave all three of us enough reasons to run, we kept choosing to stay. If this story stayed with you, like the video and subscribe. And in the comments, tell me this. Do you think family is defined more by biology, by promises, or by the people who keep showing up when ordinary life gets hard?